Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you for joining me this good Saturday. My name is Dr. Tamu Petra Browne, and I am the founder of Innovative Education and Training, and of course, brand name Coaching by Tamu, which is where most people know me from. And my goal really is to work with Caribbean women, whether in the region or in the diaspora, to grow and co create world class ventures that deliver global impact and to work with the entrepreneurship ecosystem partners that facilitates that type of growth. So I'm really about trying to get Caribbean women to be 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs and allow them to create generational wealth for themselves and their families. So that's why I'm here. So I won't be long, maybe 30 minutes. And so, what am I talking about today? So, I'm actually discussing what to do when your business growth has stalled. Okay. And the reason I thought that this topic was important was because, I do coaching and I train and I work with entrepreneurs all over. I think at this point, I've worked with more than 400 entrepreneurs, primarily female. And as they go through their growth cycle, often they come back or they express this emotion, this feeling that they're not growing, right? And when they say they're not growing, it can be they're not growing revenue. They're seeing like a plateauing of their revenue, their sales, or maybe a plateauing or downward decline in their profit because your revenue can be growing, your sales can be growing, but maybe there is some operational inefficiencies or externalities. And so, despite that, your profit is dropping. When we talk about growth, we are also talking about personal and professional growth. A lot of entrepreneurs are expressing the fact that they're feeling stuck personally and professionally, right? So they're not learning, they feel that there's no stimuli, especially in these spaces in the region. So when we talk about growth, we want to look at growth in a much more holistic manner. So I'm here to discuss, well, to find out. So if you watch this on the replay, I'd like you to comment below and tell me, are you feeling stuck? Do you feel that your business growth has stalled? Do you feel that your growth as a business professional has stalled? So I'd like to hear your sentiments as well in the comments. Now, let's talk about three. I'm going to look at three things that you should consider. I'm putting it up as a consideration for you, right? When your business growth has stalled. And so the first thing I'll discuss, and I have my notes, is this idea that, we're often told to bloom where you are planted. Now, I don't think sometimes if the soil is dry where you are planted, if no one is watering, there might be no organic fertilizer. There's nowhere in your ecosystem to buy nutrients for your plants, etc. Then you cannot bloom where you are planted. Okay. And so I'm not a proponent generally of this concept of blooming where you are planted because sometimes the conditions are just not right for blooming. Okay. And we have to be real about that. And so sometimes when we examine our ecosystems, they really don't have the support systems for us or the ecosystem partners for us that can take us to that next level. So if you're export ready, right? And you're attempting to export, but there's no logistics system, or, to send your goods out, the price is exorbitant. If it's difficult to get your inputs in because of, once again, logistical issues, high import or customs duties, etc. It makes it difficult for you to be competitive. That's the truth. And you are not the gardener in this situation, and you cannot change your ecosystem. And so perhaps it is time to explore new markets, right? Especially if you're in services where the logistics component does not apply to you, one. And even that, I've had this situation where sometimes, you're ready for training, etc., and then your electricity goes out. How can you bloom when you're planted there, right? So you have 100 entrepreneurs awaiting you to enter the virtual space, and you are scrambling to maybe use your phone and your data, etc., because you cannot rely on either the electricity or the internet. So, how can you really bloom where you are planted? And so, I want to encourage, and I've been encouraging in my coaching sessions, that especially those entrepreneurs who have grown significantly, who are export ready or are already exporting, to begin exploring new spaces. And sometimes that means you might have to A, move, it sounds drastic, move your business, or B, open another branch or location or relocate. And I've been discussing some areas of relocation. So I've been discussing some areas of Africa with my clients, and I've also been briefly discussing like Mexico City, especially if you are manufacturing, because it allows you to attract cheap inputs and also take advantage of the free trade area, right? NAFTA. So you really want to look at, so what I would do, I would look at what specifically is stalling my growth in the ecosystem that I am in, right? So make a list. Is it logistics? Is it cost of input? Is it inefficiencies? Is it the difficulty in doing business? What is it? Is it access to foreign exchange? What is it? And so once you have identified what um, what those barriers are, then now it's time to begin exploring, yeah, exploring these other spaces that will provide you with other options, right? Sorry about that. That was my LinkedIn coming up. All right. So sometimes you cannot bloom where you are planted. And so do not fall for this idea that you can bloom where you're planted. Sometimes the level of growth and the aspirations that you have for your business simply cannot be achieved in this market. And we have, lots of examples where people in the region, in Trinidad, like I think it's We Pay, they had to move to Jamaica to really get the ecosystem support that they needed for a tech company, right? I have friends, they've moved to register their business in Jamaica as well because of the vibrant entrepreneurship ecosystem there. And so when we say to relocate, I know I've said Africa, I've said Mexico City. That's because, I have clients who have had experiences in these spaces or have been to the South America, in the Americas, etc. But there might be other Caribbean nations with much more vibrant ecosystems, supportive ecosystems, where you can begin doing business, right? And we do have free movement in the region. And so you should begin taking advantage of those things. So the first thing is to identify the barriers in your ecosystem. If there are ecosystem barriers, they are out of your control. And so then to begin doing your research using your network to identify possible countries where these barriers have been mitigated. So that's number one. So number two, I should write that somewhere. Let me write that on the ticker somewhere. Uh, uh, uh. Let me add that. So number one, move your business. So let's do that. And I'm going to show them. Move your business. Eh? All right. That's number one. So, number two on my list, I have a term that I use particularly in my role as a leader, right? I have leadership roles. We won't go into that. But what I advocate often is sometimes when your business growth has stalled, you need to retreat and reassess, right? Retreat and reassess. Hmm? My two R's. Now, why you need to retreat, and retreat is what it sounds like. You need to stay still. I know. As an entrepreneur, the idea of staying still is like terrifying. Terrifying. I know that, right? But you have to stay still because you have to clinically examine where you are. And I'd like you to do an exercise and I'd like you to write down where you are, right? How much money do you have in your business account? How much work is in the pipeline coming to you? Do you see lines of revenue declining? You know, you want to get and ascertain realistically where you are. Now, I know that there's a lot of discourse around things like the affirmations, etc., right? Your affirmations where we're saying, yes, we're going to do great, blah, blah, etc. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you are going to have to reassess, right? So, but in order to reassess, you have to retreat. You have to retreat. So I'm a big proponent of that, right? So you want to retreat, you want to look realistically at where you are, and you want to reassess. Okay? And actually that's 3 R's. So let me write that. So number two, right? We want to retreat, we want to realistically assess, right? Yeah. We want to retreat. We want to realistically assess, right? And reassess. And it might mean that once you retreat, realistically um, assess and reassess, then there are some changes that you realize that you have to make. Yeah. You can't do that without retreating. You must retreat. And the reason you must retreat is because you need that mental space in order to gather the data that you do have, look at that data with a critical eye, a realistic eye, and see where your opportunities for improvement are. And it might mean that you have to reassess and reconfigure everything or some things that you are doing. It may mean it's time to pivot. It might mean that it's number one, that you cannot bloom where you are planted. It could be that you need a mental break. Entrepreneurship is grueling, right? But I want you to do this and I want you to write down the reality of it and make decisions. But don't be hasty to make the decisions. It's going to take time because you need to realistically assess and then create an action plan for the new way forward, how you are reconfiguring. All right. Then the final one, so let me add this. So number three is, here we go. I want you to follow the her model, right? So this is my high growth entrepreneurship roadmap that I created specifically for women who desire 6 and 7 figures, right? And you can find the her model on the roadmap on my website at tamobrown.com, right? There we go. And the model, the roadmap provides you the pathway to big money, right? And it creates a step by step plan. It's a blueprint. So you can ascertain where you are on the road, right? On the pathway. And you can determine your next steps by using the model. Let me see. Let me see if I can share the model with you. And so I had her workshop, and the entrepreneurs, they said, this is great. And let me tell you, one of the first things on the her road is your mental state, your mindset, because you want to create that mogul mindset as well. But also, you want to once you've come into that space of being a high growth entrepreneur mentally, you are going to have to revisit your value proposition. Yeah. So it's almost like, that first part of reassessing. Because if your business growth has stalled, perhaps you need to shift because in your mind you want to be a mogul, but your value proposition does not set you up to be a mogul. Because if you are serving the wrong customer archetypes, if you're in the wrong market, you have the wrong products or services, you're not going to get to the $1 million goal. It is just what it is, right? And so I would want you to look up the her model. I'm trying to share it. Let's see here. Mm, mm, Let me share it with you. Do the best I can. Yeah, I can't I can't seem to share it on this, right? But the go to tamubrown.com and you will see the her model there. And the model shares with you step by step the things that you have to do, the people you have to engage, the support systems that you have to cultivate in order to move your business to the high growth level. So, what to do when your business is stalled? Follow the her model. So, visit tamubrown.com, look up high growth entrepreneurship, and you will be able to look at the her model. So down below, tamubrown.com or Instagram coaching by Tamu. And now I'm doing coaching really using and strategy sessions using my roadmap because I believe it is an exciting roadmap. So if we are to wrap up, I'm going to recap my 3 steps my 3 steps regarding what to do when your business growth has stalled. So, number one, you might have to move your business, girl, right? If you're a guy, hey, you might have to move your business. Number two, you're going to have to retreat. You have to rethink. You have to reassess. And number three, you need to follow the high growth entrepreneurship roadmap. especially if you are a female entrepreneur. So once this post later today, I'll put links down below, especially on YouTube, to the Her model. And of course, if you want to engage with me, if you want coaching, if you want me to lead a session on high growth, the high growth entrepreneurship roadmap for your team, for your group of female entrepreneurs, for your breakfast associations, whatever in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, just send me a message. I'm really excited about the model. And so that's it until next time. Thank you. I know that many of you will watch the replay and I appreciate it. I think the next time I might be on maybe in 2 weeks. Yeah, maybe in 2 weeks or so. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye. I'm Dr. Tamu of a Coaching by Tamu and Innovative Education and Training. And today we were discussing what to do when your business growth is stalled and you feel stuck. Bye bye.